o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And our first topic this evening will be our Pledge of Allegiance. And Colonel, as always, would you mind leading us in that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. Up next, we'll do a moment of silence. So if you would please join us in that. Thank you. All right, first topic on the official agenda is our agenda approval. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to either approve or amend the agenda.
Chairman Wexler, I need to make a couple of changes.
Okay.
First one is I need to remove item 7D. Based off of information from this morning's meeting and review of the interlocal agreement, there's some adjustments that we need to do before we put that out for the commission to just create confusion.
All right, so that's the Highway 213 water system interconnection interlocal agreement we're going to strike from the agenda for tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I need to add 143-318-11A5, and that is the acquisition of real property in closed session.
Okay. And our personnel will be closed session as well?
Yes, sir.
Correct. So we'll do that, personnel and real property acquisition. Okay.
Chairman Wick, if I might address you as well. I'd like to add as number 7, a Parks and Rec bylaws amendment, and bump number 7A through, I guess technically E now, to make it number 8.
Okay, so your motion, your motion includes the county manager's recommendations?
That's correct.
Plus to add, we move the county manager down from 7 to 8.
That's correct.
And then at number 7, we're doing Parks and Rec Board bylaws amendment.
That's correct.
All right. So we have a motion to amend the agenda pursuant to Vice Chairman Garrison's motions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Okay, so we have an amended agenda. Our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, which includes our standard tax refunds and releases for the month. We are pulling the amendments to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board bylaws out of the consent agenda then. No? No. Mr. Attorney, can we do that?
Sorry, what was that?
We've already got, we had the Parks and Rec Advisory bylaws in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Commissioner Garrison wants to talk about an amendment to that.
Not an amendment to that, a separate topic altogether with those same bylaws.
Correct, but we're already amending the bylaws.
Okay.
So we need to pull it out of the consent agenda and put that whole item on in the area where Commissioner Garrison asked to be discussed, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. So consent agenda, we will remove or pull out the amendments to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board bylaws. That will also be part of item number 7, that discussion. So consent agenda will be tax refund and releases, resolution to declare county-owned property as surplus, Mountain Area Workforce Board letter of support, auto agent data solutions agreement addendum, and approval of our meeting minutes from special meeting of December 5th, special meeting of December 12th, regular meeting of December 12th, and special meeting of December 21st. So at this time, I would entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Chairman Wick, also move. Second.
Motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the consent agenda? Passes. Thank you. Up next this evening is public comment. In our public comment portion, we've got several folks that have signed up, so we will work through that sign-up list. When I call your name, please come up to the podium, and you'll have, you've got 3 minutes to participate in public comment. So our first one is, forgive me if I mispronounce it, Leanne Luttrell. Did I get it right?
Close. I answered anything nice.
Okay, good deal. Thank you, ma'am. Please join, let us, introduce yourself formally then and tell us where you live.
My name is Leanne Luttrell. I live in Mars Hill. I graduated from Mars Hill 30 years ago, and now I'm back. Happy to be here.
All right.
A little over 30 years.
No worries, it's all good. Go right ahead.
Okay. I'm here to urge you tonight to keep the setback requirement on protected ridge tops in place and reject the planning board's recommendation. There are several reasons for this, many of which you've heard from lawyers, experts, and residents. Lawyers state the ordinance is legal, and other experts say removing it would have negative impacts on the environment. We all know this would forever negatively impact our beautiful views. But let's discuss a solution that addresses all stated concerns and respects the will of the majority of the citizens of Madison County. If the purpose is for the Blevins to build a cabin, they should use the Madison County procedure that's already in place for an individual variance. Mr. Blevins stated his only purpose for challenging this is for his children and his grandchildren. So let's discuss that in just a moment. Clayton Honeycutt on the planning board does not argue there should not be protections. He said in an interview they have been entrusted to protect the ridges and will continue to do so. He believes the current ordinance does not offer the protection it should, and there are better ways to protect the ridges. Silver and Honeycutt argue that families who have owned ridges for generations pay taxes but are unable to build on the land. If these are the concerns, I urge you to form a committee that can propose an updated ordinance by addressing these issues and protecting the ridges, but put that in place before removing the only protection we have. A strong majority of the community wants to keep the ordinance and protect our ridges. Yes, there are a few people who will make a lot of money if this is removed. Those people are focused on personal gain, but not necessarily considering what's best for the community. I've been told by several people that addressing the board is a waste of time, that Mr. Blevins is involved in many areas, his wife is on the school board. None of these people respect or approve of the application, but they feel hopeless to fight it. You, however, have the ability to restore hope and show respect for those who disagree. I urge you to keep the ordinance in place. Develop a new ordinance that addresses all of these stated concerns. Add a special item to the ballot in November to determine whether or not you have support. Find a solution that unites us rather than divides us. Make a decision that represents the majority of citizens and keeps our ridges protected. Show the citizens of Madison County that our board will protect and fight for all citizens, not just a select few. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Up next on the list, Pat Momich. Good evening, ma'am.
Well, I'm Pat Momich, and I live in a little Laurel community, up 208 toward the Tennessee line. We're about 1.25 miles from Tennessee, so we're way out there. And I want to tell you a story that happened on 208. The year was 1998, and a very nice gentleman, looked honest, seemed to talk honest, and he proposed that there be a change to the zoning for the land, a piece of land along 208, to make a campground and a Christian retreat. Well, that sounded not too bad. That sounded like something that fits into the nature of Madison County and our area, community. And one person on the one commissioner said, it was Reese Steen, he said, you've got to think that if we make this change, we can't go back. Well, the change was made, And within 5 years, 750 acres of land was being advertised for a gated community and a large subdivision of hundreds of homes. Now, it never actually happened because of what happened in our country later on. But there was a period of time, 2006, 2007, 2008, when there was a real flurry of activity. Some of y'all might remember this, of subdivisions wanting to be built in Madison County. There was several hundred acres in Spilcorn. They're gonna call it Mount Jefferson. Do you remember this? There's several acres down in Spring Creek and throughout the county, all kinds of places, so that there were community groups formed that were saying, my goodness, we don't want to change the nature of the community this much. And what happened was in the recession of 2008, all of a sudden these land companies went bankrupt, and the development, a lot of the development didn't happen. And even today, some of those lots are still being sold. People bought them on speculation, and anyway. So we were saved by a recession. And that gave the county time to update their ordinances. And in 2010, they established the ordinance to protect the ridge tops. I agree with the things that Leanne said. I thought she spoke it very well. And it's just another reminder that when the change is made, you can't undevelop the land. You don't want to look like Reynolds Mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mullin. Up next is Tony Ponder. Mr. Ponder?
Chairman Wexel, Commissioners, I'm Tony Ponder, Marzeel. I know that being a county commissioner is a tough job, and we thank you for your service. You will soon be knee-deep in a budget preparation for next year. It has been pointed out to you this year's budget is 34% over last year's budget. That kind of budget increase, in my opinion, is unacceptable and unsustainable. Property tax collections need to be improved. It is unfair for honest taxpayers to carry the tax burden while a few can game the system without paying any taxes at all. It appears that you had an eye toward reevaluation. With a windfall from accelerating property values, property taxes will go up. I'm sure with that in mind, it was tempting to approve binge spending. Another concern I have is one of you commissioners is a sheriff's department employee. It appears that there might be a conflict of interest when you are considering the sheriff's department budget. In my experience, one way or another, an employee will please his or her boss. You know how it works, my way or the highway. Wouldn't it be prudent for a sheriff's department employee to recuse himself when considering the sheriff's department budget? One would think a commissioner would want to represent the voters and not the sheriff's department. My hope is that this body will get back to the Republican principles of low taxes and small government. You are not going to do it by increasing the county budget 34% each year. If you have personnel that can't rein in this wild spending, I would suggest that you do some firing and hire some competent staff. Also, it is a burden for the honest taxpayers of this county to foot the bill for those who do not pay any taxes. That is my take on next year's budget. Again, we thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Ponder. Up next, Jim Thorson. Mr. Thorson?
Good job, Tony. Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate your service as well.
I feel like Madison County is being used by developers, cities and so on, from our waters down low and now up to the high ridges. The oldest projectile points found in Madison County date from about 8 to 11,000 years ago. Long before the Greeks, the Romans, Egyptians organized into empires. Yet none of the Cherokee in later years, 1,000 years ago, none of the Cherokee built homes on ridgetop lands. The earliest white men came to Madison County in the mid to late 1700s, and none of them built on the ridges. Even their ancestors, inheriting land from those early settlers, and went on to clear cut our forests between 1890 and 1915, they did not build on the ridges. Yet some of their ancestors today want to build up there. Only lately, with the help of massive environmentally destructive road graders, powerful deep well drilling rigs, loaded concrete trucks that weigh 35 tons, and other machinery enable ridgeline homes to be built. One only has to look to our neighbor Woodfin and the massive building on slopes and ridgelines to see what will become of Madison County's ridgelines. And it's not just our neighbor. Look to other counties in western North Carolina to see how developers and greed will destroy a view for everyone. The Madison County Commissioners had the foresight in 2010 to strengthen the state's Mountain Ridge Protection Act of 1983. And if the current commissioners abandon the ordinance, it would change Madison County irreparably and forever. I can understand the anger and frustration of the descendants of the early ancestors paying taxes on land they cannot use. However, it would be a very easy determination by our GPS systems, geographical information systems, to pinpoint lands above 3,000 feet, and more specifically the ridge lines to those higher mountains, and to forgive taxes on that small amount of acreage. The ridge lines, let's see, just to be able to be called a longtime resident with generations of family ties in Madison County should not be a free ticket to ruin the beauty of these mountains. That to me is the real loss, the beauty. Beauty doesn't cost a dime. It fills the soul with wonder, delights the senses, and we see it every day in Madison County. All of us appreciate where we live and the beautiful scenery here. Please, County Commissioners, keep the ordinance as it is and strengthen it. Studies on slope development need to be done too.
Time's up, Mr. Thorson.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And our final individual for public comment, Mr. Bernard Payne. Mr. Payne? No? You don't have to, Mr. Payne. I just said we got you on the list here.
My name's Barnett, it ain't Bernard.
I'm sorry. It's what?
Barnard.
Okay, Barnard Payne. Sorry, my mistake.
Okay.
Pardon me?
What was I supposed to talk about?
You're on the list for public comment, sir. I'm sorry. You don't have to talk if you don't want to.
Well, I've always got a comment,
Okay.
but my comment is.
If you
on
would
this,
step up to the podium there so everybody can hear you.
Yeah. My comment is simply on this ridge cutting deal.
Okay.
You know, I think people say, well, if I own a piece of property, why can't I do what I want? Number one, nobody in Madison County owns any property unless you pay your taxes, unless you take care of your mortgage and stuff like that. I've lived here 81 years and I've never seen a patch of, a trailer leave with a patch of land on it. So, now we're worried over the water. People say, well, we can't get industry in here because we can't have any sewer or water. If you cut the property and you cut the trees, all that do is damaging your water level. We lost 1.5 million gallons to Weaverville coming out of Ivy down there. I used to swim in Ivy. Now then I can wade it if I bring my own water. So, I think it's to think seriously about cutting the ridge line. I mean, do you know how long it takes a tree to grow? And if you cut the tree, that loses part of your oxygen. It also loses, you know, part of your water stabilization. So I really didn't come here to talk. I didn't sign up on nothing, and I still don't know who Barnard is. My name's just Barney.
Good enough.
Simple.
Thank you, Barney.
Yeah. Now can I quit?
Yes, sir. By all means.
Would you appreciate it if I quit?
It's all good, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate your time.
You're awful loose with that surf stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. All right, up next on our agenda is public hearing for proposed amendments to the Madison County Land Use Ordinance, and that's Brad Guth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Brad.
Commission. You have in your packets the information on the amendments to Chapter 11 of the Madison County Land Use Ordinance. At their November meeting, the Planning Board unanimously recommended that you make amendments to that chapter, and those amendments are in the packet there with you. Essentially, you're changing the makeup of the board from 7 members, which is in the ordinance, to 5 members, which is what we're actually operating with now.
That's the Board of Adjustments,
That's the
correct?
Board of Adjustment.
Just for clarification purposes, thank you.
Yes, sir. And there'll be a staggered term limit for those, which is the next item there in your packet. The other item is the required voting for variances. We're adjusting this to match state law, which is 160D, and that means that you're going to have a concurring majority of 4/5 of the board members present and voting to approve variances. And then any of the other votes that are taking place will be a concurring simple majority of 3/5 of the board to decide any other quasi-judicial matters. And that is to put this, our ordinance in line with 160D 406. Are there any questions about any of those recommended changes from the planning board?
Yeah, I've just got one, Brad. And
Yes, sir.
You and Mandy and Colonel may be able to help it. And Chairman Hensley had actually brought it to question today, so I think it's a valid question just to make sure. As far as the way we stagger the terms, is that going to coincide with the current board members and when they're up for reappointment? Or we're gonna have 4 of them up for reappointment next year and we're gonna have to stagger
I
the
believe, and
terms?
Mandy can correct me with this, is I believe that all of our board members now are on terms that could expire. So essentially, anybody can be replaced on that particular board right now. So we can do this as we've put it in this ordinance, where they're staggered based on the existing board members going off. Because all of them could go off, or one of them can go off at a time, or 2 of them can go off at a time. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Mandy, is that?
And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
How would we envision seeing this applied currently for that group of 5? Are we just gonna assign,
It'd
take
be-
5 of them and assign each one of them a term set, or?
You could certainly do it that way, or if you have other folks that you'd like to appoint to the board, the folks that are there could ask to reapply, which we talked about at the last Board of Adjustment meeting. And then if there are other new people that you'd like to installed. You could do that. And just basically go back towards the reappointment process that you all typically use.
And once we get this in place, I see, I mean, I definitely like staggered terms. I just want to make sure we've got some idea of how we're going to implement this on the beginning.
I think essentially you're starting with a fresh board, and you can reappoint the folks that are applying that are on the board now, or you could apply new people to the board.
Whoever's going to be on this board, we're going to appoint them based on a term. Is that correct? They will be based on the terms, categories we have here. Sounds good. I have no.
All right, and just for clarification, so this, again, this is the Board of Adjustments that we're referring to.
Yes.
And the recommendation is to go to 5 members. From 7 to 5, and have 2 alternate members, if I'm reading this correctly. Is that correct?
The alternate members are already on the board now, that we have those alternate members.
Gotcha.
I don't believe that was a amendment, but,
You're correct. It wasn't an amendment, but
Okay. Yes.
I just want to make sure everybody understands exactly what we're doing.
yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
So what you're saying is all these board members now are currently up for appointment?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
All right, so we've heard Director Goose's proposal. At this time, we would typically have public comment because this is a public hearing. No one has actually signed up for this particular item of public comment this evening. But pursuant to our public comment rules for public hearings, at this time, I will say that if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this topic, speak specifically to this topic, I would ask that you please make your way to the podium at this time. Please state your name and your community for us, will you please?
My name is Barbara Fan. I live at the end of Big Pine Road to the top of Spring Creek Mountain. I own a ridge line, and this amendment, this motion that you're addressing is not just about the Board of Adjustment. It is about the whole package that Mr. Gofish.
No, ma'am, it's not.
In other words, you're not gonna vote on the ridge line right now?
No, ma'am, it's not on the agenda.
But
There will be a public hearing. There will be a public hearing specifically for that if and when this board decides to take that matter up.
So in other words, you're just deciding tonight whether or not to take it up. You're not deciding.
No, ma'am, this has nothing to do with Ridgeline. Everyone who spoke tonight is speaking off the agenda. The Ridgeline is not on the agenda tonight, never has been and never was.
Didn't you just mention it in your statement?
No, ma'am. This was dealing with the Board of Adjustment.
We apologize if there's any confusion.
Yeah, apologize for any confusion, but
This is
that's,
simply the structure and the organizational structure of the Board of Adjustment. That's all
Right.
this is.
Right. Well, one problem is we don't have a microphone, and so those of us who are deaf or partially deaf can't hear.
okay, well, we do have microphones. If we need to turn it up, then we'll turn it up for you a little bit. We all have microphones up here.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
if you couldn't hear, we apologize for that too. All right, is there anyone that would like to speak in regards to the topic? To clarify, once again, the Board of Adjustments is the topic at hand. Is there anyone that would like to speak to that topic? Mr. Ponder. Please come to the podium, thank you.
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
What exactly is the point of this appointment? I mean, what
So-
are we
so
doing
this is-
here?
this is-
I'm a little confused.
Mr. Ponder, this is public comment right now, so you're free to comment, but this is not discussion yet.
Okay. Any appointment that you make in the future, I would hope that you get a broad section of the county and not just a few contractors to fill these boards. We need people who are interested in Madison County and not one special interest.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this topic?
Chairman Wexler, I move that we close the,
Hold on.
The Board of Adjustments for a newcomer into the county. I have no idea what that function is.
Sure, we'll be glad, yes, sir, we can do that. We'll do that, we'll take care of that here in just a second.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Vice Chairman.
I move we close public comment.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, a second by Commissioner Hensley, that the public comment portion of this public hearing be closed. And at this time, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? And that closes the public comment portion of this topic. Now for discussion, Brad, would you
Sure,
explain
I'd be
for the
happy to
audience
talk-
what the
I'll
Board of
talk about
Adjustment
the Board of
does?
Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment makes adjustments to the zoning ordinance. So if somebody has for a variance application, if there's a problem with a piece of property that they have and they can't meet the setbacks or something like that, they would come to the Board of Adjustment to ask them to say, you don't have to meet those particular setbacks that everybody else has to meet. They also review special use permits. So in our zoning ordinance, we have approved uses, land uses, and then we have special uses. The special uses require additional requirements to be established, and the Board of Adjustment is the group that reviews those to make sure that they meet those additional standards.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone from this board have any questions, comments, discussion at this time?
Brad, just a point of note, this is consistent with the standards, and it is consistent with 160D-401.
Yes, sir. That's why we're doing this, is to become consistent with 160D.
And
which is the
the
state
modifications we
enabling
make
legislation.
here, I'm sorry.
I said that's the state enabling legislation.
Right. And the modifications that we're making here would also be adjusted appropriately in our land use ordinance.
Yes, sir. That's what this is it's the amendment to the land use
Okay,
ordinance.
I'm sorry. Thank you for clarity.
And there is a resolution in your packet for that.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up. Appreciate the board for looking at it and making a recommendation. This has been one of those things that's been looming for quite an extensive period of time due to several legal factors. And so I'm glad to finally put a resolve to it. The timing of it, people have speculated as to why that is, but it's been a long time coming, and we've had to go through some legal channels to make clear up some things to make this an appropriate adjustment. So thank you, and thank those that were involved in it.
Are they currently 7 members on that board right now?
No, sir, there are 5.
Okay, so they are 5 right now.
Yes, sir. And 2 alternate, well, 1 alternate.
Chairman Wexler, based on the staff's evaluation, I move to approve the proposed amendment to reduce the Board of Adjustments membership to 5 members and revise the voting requirements aligning with state regulations and fostering efficient government.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley. Is there any additional discussion at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All right. So that will dispense of that agenda item. Our next agenda item is another public hearing, and this one is on the proposed industrial park rezoning. And let's see, Brad, you've got a presentation for that as well. So if you
Yes,
would, the
yes,
floor is
sir.
yours still, sir.
Again, at the November planning board meeting, the planning board recommended unanimously that the Board of Commissioners rezone the current area known as the Madison County Industrial Park from residential agriculture to industrial. And you have the staff report in your packets. And essentially, this is at the urging of the folks from Golden Leaf, who we've gotten a grant from for development of the industrial park. They wanted to see us have that zoned industrial, which is proper for what we have in store for that area.
Very good. And, so the resolution, do we need to read the resolution into record, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want me to read it, Brad, or you want to take it?
You're fine.
All right, I left my reading glasses
Okay,
in the
well, I'll
car.
do it
So
then. Let me do it.
that's all, okay. If you want to do it, go ahead. I was just having
Whereas the
correct.
Madison County Board of Commissioners has received a proposal to rezone the Madison County Industrial Park, specifically properties identified by pins 97167552776, 97167565537, and 97167535174 from residential agricultural to industrial. And whereas the Madison County Planning Board has unanimously voted to recommend this rezoning, and whereas this rezoning necessitates an amendment to the current zoning map of Madison County, now for there it be resolved that the zoning map amendment of Madison County shall be amended to reflect the rezoning of the Madison County Industrial Park, changing from residential agriculture to industrial for the properties identified by the specific pins. The rezoning is recognized as consistent with the Madison County Comprehensive Plan, aligning with the county's strategic vision, objectives, and policies. And the rezoning is deemed reasonable and beneficial to the public interests following the detailed analysis of existing development, potential impacts, and expected benefits. This rezoning shall take effect immediately upon adoption and signature. Be it further resolved that all other sections of the Madison County Land Use Ordinance not hereby amended shall remain in full force and effect. Adopted this 9th day of January by the Madison County Board of Commissioners.
And for the record, this is the industrial park, what we have been referring to as the Madison County Industrial Park, that is right below where we're at right now, that comes up from Long Branch Road.
Everybody probably passed the public notice sign on the way here.
Yes, I would about imagine, I would say they probably all had to have done that, yes. So, all right. At this point, we don't have, in regards to this part of the meeting, we did not have anyone sign up for public comment. But again, pursuant to our rules and regulations for a public hearing, I would open the floor up. If there's anybody here that is present with us this evening that would like to talk about this specific topic, please signify by raising your hand or make your way to the podium at this time. All right, seeing or hearing none, I would entertain a motion that we close the public comment portion of the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner White, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any additional discussion about public comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Okay, so that portion is closed. And we are now to our board discussion. At this time, I'd entertain any discussion among the board members here. Anybody have any questions, concerns, or statements that they would like to make in regards to this rezoning of the industrial park?
Brad, is it fair to say this is already an industrial park? There's been a sign out there for years so long so that the signs deteriorated.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically just something that needs to take place, especially as we move forward with the next phase of that site plan,
Yes,
and
sir.
also in regard to how that impacts the town of Marshall as well, as far as zoning requirements.
Brad, did the planning board vote unanimously for this?
They did.
Chairman Weckel, I move that with consistency and reasonableness of the statements proposed for rezoning of the Madison County Industrial Park, ensuring adherence to statutory guidelines, contribute to the reasonableness of governance and planning with Madison County, that we approve and accept this resolution.
Second that.
So we have a motion by Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Wyatt. Any additional discussion in regards to this resolution? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right, resolution passes.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you.
Up next is our finance officer, finance director, Carrie Ledford.
Good evening, gentlemen. Before you for your approval, find item A, which is budget amendment number 7. This amendment records the additional revenue brought in by the sheriff's office from donations for his outreach programs in the amount of $10,845, as well as donations by both of your library in the amount of $2,775.62, and your animal shelter in the amount of $5,000. Also recording revenue from interest earned to be used for the work at the Spring Creek for the helicopter pad in the amount of $10,350. C2, the recording of the funds from the sale of the capital land in the amount of $10,000. There is increased revenue generated by your transportation department due to the increase in the rides as approved at last month's meeting for the additional position and the increase to the part-time position. Here too is the recording of the additional revenue generated by the quarter cent sales tax in the amount of $54,506.15. All these amendments are pending their approval.
So you've heard the finance director's report. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Just had one, the capital sale of the land, it says $10,000, but we got a copy of a check, it was $9,500. Is that because they put a $500 deposit on when they bid it?
That's correct.
Okay, just making sure.
And currently, that money goes into the general fund unless we designate it for something else.
Yes, but we are holding any capital land. I think we discussed we were gonna hold that toward capital improvements later on. We earmarked that money differently. So, but it's in the general fund, yes.
It's always been my position from the board that any money, any revenues we receive that were unexpected from the sale of land, that the board consider using that for economic development endeavors, to reinvest in the county, to thereby hopefully keep our taxes from rising and to be able to provide additional services.
Do you have a balance for that contingency fund? How much is in there?
Right now it stands at $210,587.
And we start out each year with contingency, is it 100?
I think 100 this year. 100,000 this year.
Good.
Question, Jeremy?
Any other questions?
I don't know.
This time I'd entertain a motion to approve budget amendment number 7.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner White, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any additional discussion at this time? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Budget amendment approved.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next is item B, which is your December's financial reports. You'll see that we're at 50% through FY '24. And on that second page, you'll see that we, for our general fund, have received 59.19% of our revenue, and we have spent 43.5% for expenses.
And those are consistent with how it normally works for this time of year.
Correct, yes, sir.
I don't see anywhere in here where, just looking, I don't see our budget's 34% over increase from last year. Is that a factual statement or not?
It is not, and I regret that I don't have the amount
No,
that
it's
is
fine.
an increase, but it is not 34%, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Madam Finance Director? Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carey.
Up next will be the Parks and Rec Board bylaws amendments. And let me get back to those because they were earlier on in our. Chris, do you have anything to present for this?
I do not.
Okay, come on up though in case we have any questions for you.
Sure.
Director Manning, I do appreciate your leadership as we continue to move forward with maybe redefining, realigning, improving, enhancing Parks and Rec program in our county. And
Get there.
some of this is administrative, and I appreciate you and your board doing. I also appreciate Colonel Honeycutt for working in tangent with you on those things. It's good to see we're continuing to move forward with those.
Sorry, guys, my scrolling's going slow here.
Page 7.
Yeah, the way I downloaded it, it won't let me go straight to it. I thought no, we're good. We're good. All right. So, one of the, what we have talked about over the course of several meetings recently is trying to streamline the membership, so that you are more efficient with your meetings, easier for you to make a quorum so you guys can conduct business as part of the Parks and Rec Board.
Yes, sir.
And then I also believe, though, that in doing that, we need to strike, because there is a specific time that it says the meeting has to occur in the bylaws.
Correct.
In order to accommodate your board members, that time is an inconvenient time for your board members, and you guys want to set a new time, if I understood everything correctly. Is that right?
So we need to meet with the board to see. I don't really know exactly what's best for them right now with this new board coming on.
Okay.
So,
If I could interject in that, Chairman Wade.
I'm sorry, if I butchered that, correct me in anything.
No, it's perfectly fine. The objective here is for those that are listening, under section 1, gentleman of ours, page 8, section 1 lists out the third Thursday of the month, and those months being February, March, April, September, October, November, and the time to be at 8 a.m. And it's going to be the recommendation that we strike the time from it and allow the board the freedom to set its own time, and then to post that time in a yearly calendar as we do, so everybody knows when it is. And we've gotten some direct feedback from Director Maney and also from our clerk to the board, Mandy, as far as how that should take place. But the idea is not the board to tell them what time to meet, but for them to decide themselves.
And then again, the remainder of the amendment then is to set the membership of that board at 7,
yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Chairman Garrison, Commissioner Garrison, change the language to read, regular meetings of the Parks and Recreation Board shall be held on the third Thursday as directed and published by the Parks and Rec Director.
Madam Clerk?
Sorry, can you say what you just said again?
Regular meetings of the Parks and Recreation Board shall be held on the third Thursday monthly as directed and published by the Parks and Rec Director.
I think that's fine, or you can either just take off the 8 o'clock time frame, because that board has to adhere to the open meetings law. So there is a statute that dictates what they would need to do to publish a regular meeting schedule.
And they've discussed this, Chris has discussed it, I've discussed it, and Madam Clerk discussed as well as what that process would be to notify the public.
Very good. So that being the only alteration to what was presented to us in our packet, this time I would entertain a motion that the amended amendments.
I also move that we approve the 7-member board and strike out the time of meetings.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion?
Well, they need to know, when are they gonna meet to start with the first time? I mean, they're gonna have to meet sometime and decide all this.
Right. So the first meeting will have to be at that 8 a.m. time, is that correct?
The first meeting will have to be noticed. The first meeting is already February, as by the bylaw. Director will have to do notice of that. Madam Clerk will assist with that. They will do notice, and that notice will advise what time that meeting's going to be, and that will be up to, of course, the director and his board to decide when that meeting's going to be. And then once that meeting takes place, they will approve a meeting time for the remainder of the other 5 meetings in the course of the year, and then that will be published. And then in November, they will do the same thing our board does, which is pre-approve the upcoming year's meeting schedule, and that will be published. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And the only reason I know all that is I called Mandy early and asked her. She's the brains behind it.
All right. So at this time, we've got a motion to approve the amendments, and that has been seconded as well. So any additional discussion at this time? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right. Good deal. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, now up on the agenda is County Manager Rod Honeycutt.
Good evening, gentlemen. 6 topics for situational awareness tonight we'll cover. First was 6A, 6B now, capital improvements update. I want to spend just a few minutes with you of where we're at. As we discussed during the budget cycle, we had 15 planned capital improvements during that time frame. And since the budget meeting, we have identified 6 additional capital improvement projects over on the right-hand side. But of those projects, 13 are complete, 6 are in progress, and 3 are pending. On the right-hand side of the chart, you can see where we're at by quarter and where we have programmed in those capital improvement projects. The capital improvement projects are done in conjunction with interest. As we gained interest throughout the year, we programmed in those projects, so we did not dip into any of the county's funds except for what we were gaining through interest. With that being said, you have a star down on the bottom left-hand side of your chart there. Right now, our target, and we're right on where we thought would be, is $174,742.50. That's what we had in interest as of 12/31/23, and that's pretty much where we programmed that out. We have a couple of expensive projects still remaining. The first one is the paving at the library, here at the Cooperative Extension Center, and at the Health Department with about $300,000 still left in the queue. That will take.
And just for clarification, that's the main library in Marshall.
Main
correct?
library in Marshall.
Okay.
But even at the end, as we go through right now, should end the year with $227,000 in interest, still not programmed towards any capital improvement. Key points and what I want you to take away from it: we have spent less than budgeted to the tune of about $23,000 right now. The interest trend line is maintaining the projected forecast. Revenue is supporting unplanned projects, as we did with Transportation Office. As that revenue came in, we're able to program in. And right now, we still have $509,164 in support of programmed projects. This update does not include the courthouse update, the landfill pad project, or the 213 water project, because they come out of a different source of revenue. Gentlemen, some of your questions.
It also doesn't include the updates for transportation, is that correct? The parking lot expansion.
It is in here. That's number 20. It's the 4th. $16,000.
On the far side over there. Right there. Okay.
Is that $174,742.50 where it says as of 12/31, is that from January or is that from July?
That would have been from July.
Okay. So that's 6 months.
Yes,
worth of
sir.
interest. Okay.
And of course, this time of year, the weather's gonna prevent any paving being done, so we're still not gonna expend that money anytime soon.
We have them programmed about 1 a month, April, May, and June, waiting for the weather to warm up. But we've been good stewards of taxpayer dollars, and have come in under budget, with all but one, and we went over $300 on the Laurel Fire Department, that pad. But everything else is either met or exceeded, what we thought, we went under budget on. So it's a good news story.
Well, Colonel, we inherited from years, it's no one board or one group, we inherited a huge dilapidated infrastructure in this county, so some of these initiatives at least help to move forward with bringing some of it up to acceptable code standards and keep it from becoming more deteriorated. Appreciate the initiative.
And living within our means.
Good. Thank you, Colonel.
Good job.
Anybody have any questions for the Colonel? All right.
Moving to item 7C, county surplus property. We have two properties for your consideration tonight. The first one is a bid in the amount of $1,000 for .25 acres. Has a tax evaluation of $12,900. Gentlemen, for your consideration.
So if I remember right, that one was an accepted bid. We put it up for the upset bid process. No upset bids were received, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it remains at $1,000. So at this point, it is to this board's discretion to accept that $1,000 and move on with the sale of the land, or we can, Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, we can reject the offer outright, or we can counteroffer, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So at this point, those are our three options, gentlemen. I would entertain a motion on any one of those three options.
Chairman Weckl, I move we accept the bid. Move on.
So Vice Chairman Garrison's motion is to accept the bid and put this property back on the public tax rolls. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. Any discussion?
Just want to clarify now, this was the property that was owned half by the town too, right? Okay.
I never like selling property when the numbers are so small, especially in a good market. These continue to linger, and both of these properties, if they were such a good property and such a good deal, why didn't somebody put an upset bid on it?
Well, we're talking, in this particular case, we're talking about a quarter of an acre.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot you can
That
even
we
do with
only
it.
half own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quarter acre that we only half own, so we only owned, what, 12.5% of an acre.
Hopefully it'll be developed and utilized, and people will benefit from it as property owners, and the county will receive taxes from it.
Yeah, it's about the size of this room, is what Bill says. It's probably about right. All right, so we have a motion second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All right, we'll let that one go. Up next, you've got a second one.
Right, sir. Second one is a previous bid similar to the one we just spoke about, in a bid of $900 for .33 acres, the tax value of $10,655.
So same options, gentlemen. We have the opportunity to accept this, put it back on the tax rolls and be done with it. We have the ability to basically deny the sale at all, or cancel the sale. We don't have to sell it. Or we can counteroffer. So at this point in time, I'd entertain a motion for any one of those three options.
Mr. Chairman, I vote we accept the bid.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Wyatt to accept the bid. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chairman Garrison.
I want a second so I can have discussion.
Very good. So that does open it up for discussion. So the floor is yours.
Madam Chair, Madam Clerk, just, do you know, is this the property historically that we've had other bids on? They were lower, one may have been higher, but it was from a bidding source that we had had issues with previously?
Yes, sir, and I think this is also the property that a neighbor previously may have bid on as well.
It is.
Is this the property on the Green Mountain? Yeah, straight in the line.
Needs to be underwater.
So any additional discussion? So we have a motion and a second. No additional discussion. This time we'll move to a vote. All in favor? All right, let's put it back on the tax rolls. Colonel?
Next is the topic of Board of Equalization and Review discussion. Gentlemen, this is really just need guidance from the board tonight as we go forward. There's two options. One for the Board of Equalization Review, it can be the board only, and if you would attend every one of the hearings, or we can go to option two, which is a board member with two members from the public. If the discussion or the decision is to go board only, we're done tonight, and we'll start programming, planning, and sessions to have the public come in. If it's not, on the 23rd, during the work session, we recommend that you bring the nominations of who you would like to see on that board, and we then go through training modules with the public we put on the board and start setting the location and dates and times for the hearings. Two options. Historically, the county has done commissioner only, and they have met from 9 to 12 during the work week. But there's nothing that says we have to stay in that model. So your questions and guidance.
Is this the time to comment or later?
No, this is all about discussion right here, so you can go ahead and discuss.
Personally, I don't want somebody else making my decision. You know, I want to be there and I want to hear, and if you can help anybody that's in the county and be an asset to them, then that's what I want to do. I don't want other people making my decision. That's just my opinion. That's all.
That's good, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, sir.
Mike's hot over there too. Bill sounds good.
Yeah.
It's E.F. Hutton when Bill speaks. People
Colonel,
listen.
the anticipation is with the current reevaluation that there will be more than the traditional historic yearly applications or what's the word, I'm sorry, to the Board of E&R.
Appeals.
Appeals, thank you, appeals, to the Board of E&R. And so based on that, that's why we're having this discussion. Can you kind of temper that a little bit, the fact that you've sent out a schedule?
Yes, sir. So we're going to do
Talk about that a little bit and what that's for.
We're going to do a community roadshow, town halls, whatever you want to call it, out in 5 of the communities. We've got Laurel, Spring Creek, the Cooperative Extension Center, Ebbs Chapel, and I'm missing one off the top of my head. Beach Glen. We will hit either on a Tuesday or a Thursday. That advertisement will go out into the newspapers, we'll submit it today, so we'll see it in the next newspaper that comes out. We're also putting all you need to know frequently asked questions on the county webpage that will show you the process. And there is a method to appeal with Tyler Technologies, the group that did the reevaluations before you get to the commissioners. You can settle this with them prior. Worst case scenario, you disagree with Tyler's assessment, then it goes to the Board of E&R. But we're trying to get that word out. There'll be multiple forums and multiple engagements to answer questions. Sure, that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. It's good explanations. In essence, we're going to try to minimize, we're going to try to inform and educate the public on the process for appeals, but also what the evaluation has entailed. But the second part is to outline and make available via phone calls and meetings for folks to screen out as many of the possible appeals as possible before they actually come to the Board of Equalization Review. So there's potential we won't have an onslaught of folks that are coming to the E&R appeals process.
Who's gonna be involved with these meetings and holding the meetings?
So the tax assessor will be the one scheduling and in charge of, and it'll be at Elizabeth Lane in the conference room there.
No, I mean the
community meetings.
Yes,
Community
meetings, yes.
That's the question again, I misunderstood.
Who's gonna be involved? Who's gonna hold the meeting and
So it'll be
explain all this
myself,
to
the
public?
tax assessor, and Tyler Technologies, and gentlemen, you're welcome to come and attend. And we have press coverage coming to the second one that will also generate the knowledge in the local newspaper.
Well, my thoughts on I think that I agree with Bill as far as commissioners need to be on it. And, you know, I'm like him, I don't want nobody else making the decisions that I'm gonna get the blame for.
That's right.
So, I would want to keep it as commissioners.
Sure.
That's just my 2 cents.
You know, and I'll add to it too. I mean, I've done the Board of Equalization Review for, I guess, going on 8 years now. that I've participated in it. And I think that is the taxpayer's opportunity, that if they've exhausted all other options locally, that's kind of their final stop, and it's to be able to come in front of us. And I think there's some value in that it be us and it not be someone by proxy. So I don't disagree at all with anything that's been said this evening. I agree with Bill, agree with Jeremy. I think it's our responsibility. It's one of the things that we get elected for, like it or not. It's one of the things we get elected for, and I think that it's our duty and responsibility to participate in that. And we may even, if we have a larger number than expected, we may have to consider expanded hours to be able to address them. But I think it's valuable that the commissioners be involved in that process as much as possible. Anybody else? Well said. All right. Any further discussion? All right, Colonel, I think we're good. We don't, it's not an action item for us.
Don't need
It's
action.
just
As long as we stay with it, the board only, there's no action required.
yeah, I think that's the best thing to do. I think we're in consensus on that.
So gentlemen, next is the county board appointments.
So we've got our county board appointments, our vacancies and reappointments, include 3 from the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, but to my knowledge, they have still not, they have not submitted any recommendations there.
They have not had a meeting, their meeting in January. I will attend and pressure during that meeting.
Okay. So we need to add 3 to that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the 15th?
Yes, sir.
15th, yes, ma'am.
That's one of your boards, right, Bill? All right, good deal. Lay it to them, Bill.
Yeah.
All right.
Gentlemen, next is the Park and Recreation Advisory Board.
Okay, we've got a Parks and Rec Board vacancy, and we've got some applications there.
1 vacancy, 5 applications.
This time I would entertain a recommendation from the board.
For which one?
This is Parks and Rec.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we nominate Tommy Worley for that board. He's a native, local, got kids. I think he'd be a good asset to that board.
I'll second.
So Commissioner Hensley nominates Tommy Worley to fill the vacancy, second by Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion? Are there any other nominees from the board? Hearing none, move to a motion, or move to a vote to approve Mr. Tommy Worley to fill the vacant position on the Parks and Rec Board. All in favor? I believe that puts it back at a full board now, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes.
Okay, good deal. And up next, then we've got
So we
3.
got the planning board for 3 vacancies, and you have 12 applicants for 3 positions.
All right.
Chairman Wechtel, I move that we reappoint Lee Wild for a 3-year term. I don't think he got but a 1-year term this time, so.
He filled somebody else's unfinished term, if I'm not mistaken, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we've got a motion by Commissioner Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley for Lee Wild for one of the 3 spots on the planning board. Any discussion? Move to a vote, all in favor? Okay. You've got a second spot on the planning board that currently is the chairman, Jared Silver.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reappoint Jared to the planning board.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Hensley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Wyatt. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? Okay. And then we've got 1 spot that has been completely vacated by a person who wishes to retire off the board. And so this time we've got multiple applicants there, a couple of which have already been seated, so keep that in mind.
I've got a nomination, no one else does.
Okay,
Terry Burnett. I nominate Terry Burnett. I can't talk, excuse me.
all right.
Is
Got a-
this-
Bad talk.
Can I ask a question, or is it time?
Well, we've got a motion on the floor right now. Is there a second?
I guess it is.
Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second.
Chairman Weckl, I'd like to nominate Kenneth Kashuba. I think Mr. Ponder makes a valid statement that we need representation across the county, and Mr. Kashuba resides in the Hot Springs community.
I'll second that.
And the board currently doesn't have any representatives from Hot Springs, is that correct?
That's what I was gonna ask. Is this Sue Keener's spot?
Yes.
It is.
Okay.
My understanding it is, yes. All right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second for Mr. Kenneth Kashuba. Is there any additional discussion?
I didn't realize that, we didn't discuss that to start with, that she's the one that wasn't, to be reappointed.
It's okay.
I didn't realize that.
We should have
Bill,
clarified
first
that.
of all, that's my fault. I should have, I should have prepped you on that, and, that's on me, Bill, so you've got nothing to apologize for, and
Well,
I apologize, to Mr. Burnett for any confusion there.
That's good to have.
Absolutely. Very good. Any additional discussion at this time? That was totally my fault, Bill.
That's
so.
fine.
All right. All in favor? All right. So I believe that's everything for that, is it, Colonel? For the county board appointments?
Looking forward to next month. We'll have one Board of Adjustment, one Board of Health, 2 Economic Development, and 4 Transportation Board appointments, in addition to the juvenile carryover.
So anybody that's interested in any of those upcoming boards, you can go to I believe you can still go to the county website and download the application and send that over to Ms. Mandy or to the county manager's office, and we'll get you in the hopper.
I got one question on that.
For consideration,
If
sir.
we've got all of those on the Board of Adjustments, why are we only doing one?
There will be others now that you have amended this bylaw changes. So there, you will
So-
be presented with others, yes.
Okay.
This was prior to the adjustment.
Okay.
I want to say I appreciate all those that put in for the boards, all those that have and are serving on those boards. It requires time from people's personal lives, and it's hugely beneficial. We've had our own staff have to sit on those boards because we couldn't beg someone else to do it, so I appreciate that. It's a huge commitment. Some of these boards are pretty contentious, and people are still yet willing to be a part of leading our county, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Colonel, I believe that takes us now to your final item, which is closed session items.
Sure, correct, sir, we need to go into closed session for personnel and acquisition of real property.
Okay, so we need a motion, or I'll make the motion that we go into closed session under North Carolina, for personnel, under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A1, and also that we go in for real property acquisition, which is North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A5, and I'll make that in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
Second, with the understanding we're going to take a brief break.
Bathroom recess. Now we're ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, microphones are back on. We're ready to go back and entertain a motion to enter back into open session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner White. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hensley. All in favor? All right, we are back in open session. At this time, I will entertain a motion regarding land acquisition.
Chairman Weckel, I move that we authorize county manager to enter into a contract for $13,000 to purchase easements on NC 213.
Not more than
Not
13,000.
more than 13. Thank you.
Second.
So we've got a motion by Commissioner, Vice Chairman Garrison, second by Commissioner Hensley. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, move to a vote. All in favor? All right, that motion passes. I believe that's everything we needed to take action on. Is that correct, Colonel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At this time, that takes care of any business that we had out there this evening, so I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Nobody wants to go home?
I move to
Motion by Commissioner Briggs. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner White. All in favor?